Hi, welcome to my kitchen again. Today I want to cook foods from Lebanon for you. Lebanon's in a terrible situation at the moment, but when I was a child, Lebanon was a land of incredible mystery. No, I'm not Lebanese. Some of you have written and asked. I'm a Norwegian. But when I was a little boy, my mother's Norwegian sister married a Lebanese fellow. And by the hand, he took me into the kitchen, and this gorgeous, dark-skinned man would stand in front of the stove and throw pots and scream and yell. It was a horrifying experience at first, until I realized he was a very tender and affectionate man, and he taught me to cook Lebanese food. He was the one, Vic Abdo in Seattle, was the one who taught me from the very beginning that cooking is neither a masculine nor a feminine category. He is a non-sexist cook. Way before the time the rest of us caught on, you see. So I have some things rolling this morning. I've got to start cooking right away, and then I'll tell you stories about his mother and about his childhood and about eating in the desert. We're going to have a good time. But first of all, remember in Lebanon and in Syria and in Armenia, the most common meat form is lamb mixed with a lot of vegetables. So I have in this casserole, a heavy pot here, cooking about a pound of chopped up lamb shoulder or lamb steak, sauteing with a lot of onions, a handful of onions chopped, some garlic, and a bit of olive oil. Now, into that, I'm going to add... Oh, do you want to know what we're cooking? That was a fair question. We're cooking lamb and okra. Or you can make this dish with lamb and green beans, frozen. Works perfectly. To the lamb now, which I've already browned, along with the onion and the garlic, you see, I'm going to add 1 can of tomatoes. And you see how smooth they are? Because I've run them through the osterizer. Grandma Abdo used to run hers through a sieve. And she would, she'd spend, well, that was the Middle Eastern way. You get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and start making bread, and you cook all day long. That's why Mama was not allowed to go out to work, because the family would starve to death. There we are. Now, the common spice that is used in the Middle East are 2. A very interesting blend of cinnamon and allspice. With lamb and tomato, yes. Just a pinch, about maybe a half teaspoon of cinnamon into our... That was a 15-ounce can of tomato, by the way. Now we're going to put in a half teaspoon of cinnamon and a half teaspoon of allspice, and we've about got it. We need some salt and pepper. Then we'll let this cook for, let's say half an hour in the tomato sauce. But I'm going to throw one together in a hurry because, as you know, I always have too much cooking for you when you come, and I just hate to have you miss out on anything. All right, we're going to cook this for half an hour, right? Zongo, it's been cooked for half an hour. With the lid on, It'll be tender and nice by that time. And then we add 2 packages of whole frozen okra. And if you can find fresh okra in your part of the country year-round, I want to know, because I want to move there. I love okra. I think there are 2 kinds of people in the world, you're right. Okra lovers and non-okra lovers. Some people claim that the texture is too much for them, but I just love it. I just love it. All right, we'll cook that for another half an hour now. You got the recipe. The lamb, onions, and garlic are sauteed together in a little bit of olive oil first. Then you add the can of tomatoes that you've mashed up in an osterizer or a food blender, along with some salt and pepper, cinnamon and allspice. Then you simmer that for a half an hour, then add the okra and simmer it for another half an hour. So total time is 1 hour cooking. And at the end of the hour, well, let me show you. Get a big platter here. Well, anyhow, here it is. Just a delicious dish. Very rich. I'll put this in front of you on the counter, and we'll serve it over rice. And I'm not going to use just a regular, plain old rice. I'm going to use a pilaf. And a pilaf means that you've browned the rice for just a bit in some olive oil. And Grandma Abdo used to cook a rice that had noodles in it. You see the noodles here? It's a marvelous dish. And you simply brown spaghetti or rice noodle, egg noodle, in a bit of oil first, then add the rice, and then cook it. And that's all there is to it. Tiny bit of salt. So the final dish is really very, very striking. I'm going to make a plate here, and as we go along today, I'm just going to prepare 1 platter, and then we'll leave all these other things sit around. And the okra and lamb is served right on top of the rice. Oh, I can remember this so many times when I was a little kid. One afternoon, Grandma Abdo took us to the park. We were going to have a picnic, and it rained, and she made this dish for me. I was 6 years old, and she used to take me to a park and feed me Lebanese food. You see, marvelous woman. In any case, we got to the park, and it was raining like mad, so we were so disappointed. We went home, and she sat us down on the front room rug and fed us Lebanese food on a blanket. on a carpet in a very nice home. She was a lovely woman. I sure miss her. Sure miss her. You have someone like that in your childhood, don't you? Who, I'm stalling now, waiting for the pan to heat up for the next dish, you see. But you have someone in your childhood who taught you that it's best to cook with memories rather than ingredients. It's best to cook with your background. And she was an ethnic cook. She was a dear little round lady, a dark skin and dark hair, and lovely, lovely smile. And she kept bubble gum in her pockets. In her apron pocket, I remember. And she used to take marvelous care of us, and it was always with Lebanese food because she wanted us to remember. You see, that's what cooking's about. Cook with your memories. That's what she taught her son to do too. All right, second dish. This one is going to look very much the same to you because we're using in our frying pan ground up lamb or chopped lamb, a bit of onion and garlic, and I've already sauteed that. And now to this I'm going to add, oh, this is an eggplant dish, by the way. Don't back away. Yes, Middle Eastern vegetables are a little unusual, but I think they're just terrific. So to our lamb, onion, garlic, and olive oil, which I've already browned, we're going to add a bit of salt and pepper. Oh, so many things to cook in so little time. That's the nature of the world. I love it. All right, and then we're going to add a bit of tomato sauce, about half a cup to our pan. There we go. That's half a cup. We don't want this to be too wet. Come on, go. There we go. And now our usual cinnamon and allspice, just a smidgen. Don't put too much of these things in or everything will taste the same. And that's not the point of using spices or herbs in your food. The point is not everything to taste the same, but to enjoy the sweetness of the Middle East, the sweetness of the desert. Marvelous place. You can learn to do this, flipping things around, if you'll just remember to lean your pan forward when you do it. We want 1/4 of a cup of red wine. There we are. All right, now it's time, slopping this all over the place, it's time for our secret ingredient. You know what that is? Here they are. These are pine nuts. They do come from the center of the pine cone. We don't grow them in this country at all. You have to bring them in from Italy or from the Middle East, but they do come from a pine cone. And you take the leaves off the pine cone and pop out, you know, leaves is all I can, that's the only word I can think of. And you pop out these lovely little seeds. They're very expensive. They run about $10 a pound, but that's the dish. This is it. So if you're going to do it, you can use sliced almonds as a substitute, I suppose, but I would call it a substitute, I suppose. I don't want you to do that. Putting in about 3 tablespoons of pine nuts. And then we're going to cook this for a bit till it cooks down. Won't take long. And I'll show you how to prepare the eggplant. First of all, you cut up an eggplant. This lovely, lovely vegetable, which I think is one of the most gorgeous colors in the world. My wife has a dress this color. It's just, and for me, it's, well, you know, I'm so hooked up on food that when she puts on that dress, well, never mind. It's none of your business. The eggplant is sliced, so you see, and then I fried the eggplant in a little bit of olive oil. Now, you must remember that when you put olive oil on eggplant, the eggplant is going to absorb olive oil like mad. It will just suck it right up. As a matter of fact, it will absorb so much olive oil that you have to be careful. There's an old joke in the Middle East. Well, it's really not a joke. It's true. Desert peoples all say this. Because the eggplant will absorb oil just endlessly, a man is wont to turn to another man and say, listen, he's so rich that he doesn't care how much olive oil his wife puts on the eggplant, which means, you know, he has endless source. Okay, that's ready. Do you get the recipe? If we confuse you, at the end of the show, we'll give you an address and you can send us a note and we'll send you all kinds of recipes. I have a whole book full. But this one is lamb, onion, garlic, sauteed in olive oil, a bit of tomato paste, red wine, cinnamon and allspice, and then the final blow, and the necessary blow as far as I'm concerned, is the pine nuts. Then I'm going to put this on the top of sauteed, very quickly, just brown them on sides, sauteed slices of eggplant, about 3/4 inch thick. Just brown them very, very quickly. Then we'll pop this into a 375-degree oven for about 15 minutes. Look at this. Isn't this gorgeous? Oh, the dish that comes out is just lovely. Just lovely. There we go. Hey, I forgot some parsley. Would someone get some parsley and just leave it in the end of the counter here for me, please? Okay. You've got to have a garnish on this, you see, so that it looks attractive and nice. All right, now we're going to pop these into a 375 oven for about 15 minutes or so, or until I remember, and then we'll take them out. Are you ready for another one? I think, what have we got? Oh, I remember. I remember what's next. The next thing is probably the most common dish that you've seen in a Middle Eastern delicatessen or restaurant, and it's rolled grape leaves. Let me show you how to do that. It's very, very simple. First of all, you can buy grape leaves in our country in a jar, either from California, and they're not bad, from California. They come pickled in a jar, you see, or you can buy them from Greece. They're a little more expensive, but this is what you want. And it's very simple to find them. Any Middle Eastern deli will have them, and they're absolutely delicious. Just a great dish. Now, the mixture goes thusly. We want about a pound of ground lamb. And you see how lean this is? What's your first clue? You're right. I grind my own. I don't let anybody else touch it. That's important. I don't want anyone to touch lamb because they'll put too much fat into it. So I grind my own. I have a mix master, or excuse me, that's a brand name, and I shouldn't use that. This particular one is a KitchenAid. It's very powerful and has a good meat grinder with it. And, you can do all sorts of good things with it. So here we have 1 pound of lamb, ground. I want 3/4 of a cup of rice, long grain rice. And then I want to add a little bit of salt. Not much. And a tiny bit of pepper. And again, the old cinnamon and allspice trick. Good Lord, everything's going to taste the same. No, it's not. No, it's not. Not going to be that way at all. Okay. Shot of cinnamon. Just a pinch now. You don't need much. That looks like too much to me, too. You were rude to say so. There we go. What is that? Oh, 1/4 of a teaspoon, I suppose. And mix this up with your hands so that the meat blends with the rice. And I'm going to turn down a burner over here. There we are. And now we'll begin to roll the grape leaves. Now, this is time-consuming. But you remember, all of these dishes took time, and that's why Mama stuck to the home. She had an incredible job. It was very hard work to feed people on the desert. But you learned some interesting lessons about life. For instance, because you all ate out of a common pot, common bowl, you learned that you belong to the family, you belong to the tribe, you belong to one another, and your value did not come because of what you did in your occupation or even your wealth. It came because you belonged to the tribe.